Let's talk to Harold, the H, and let's talk about Thomas Lehane, who comes from Laidley in World War One. This happened, didn't it there, Harold?
Yes, that's right. It's just a couple of days ago that it was Anzac Day, but this whole weekend is our Anzac weekend. We've got to remember. And one more. And Thomas Patrick Lehane, or Lehane, which is important. The spelling's important. Yeah. Come the end of the story, you'll know why. Yeah. He came to Queensland from Kilkenny Ireland as a 5-year-old in 1906. And he later became a forgotten Anzac, and that's what I'll be telling you about today.
And his name's Lehane, is it?
Yeah, that's right. Lehane. And therein lies a story, but we'll get to that.
Well, I want to find out about his being forgotten and how we can fix it.
Yeah, well, Thomas and his mother, Bridie, went to live at Glenore Grove near Forest Hill in the Lockyer Valley. His mother married for a second time, and exactly 9 months later, she gave birth to a half-brother for Thomas. Now, sadly, Thomas's stepfather, he had a record of drunkenness, so it made things a bit tough. But two of Thomas's uncles were bakers at Clifton on the Darling Downs, so he got an apprenticeship as a baker. Now, the First World War broke out in 1914, and Thomas tried to enlist in the army, but he got rejected. He tried again in 1916 when, look, he could have been as young as 15 years old, so he put his age up. And this time, he got in. He went to France, where he joined the 49th Infantry Battalion, where his service was perhaps best forgotten. You see, he was wounded twice. Wow. He went AWL 3 times and was convicted of subordination once. Thomas came home to his life as a baker. In 1931, he married Agnes at the Glenore Grove Catholic Church, and they went to live at Forest Hill. Now, in 1939, the Second World War was declared. Now, Thomas was a bit on the old side this time, so when he went to enlist, he lowered his age and got straight in. But again, his service wasn't all that memorable. He went AWL, fell asleep on sentry duty, left his post without permission, and sadly was diagnosed with acute alcoholism. Now, Thomas was discharged after just 7 months. Now, back home with his wife and children, well, he wasn't all good at that either. You see, they drifted living between Forest Hill and Grantchester, West End, Camp Hill, East Ipswich, Rockhampton, Windsor and Rosalie. In 1942, with Australia on the brink of invasion by the Japanese, Thomas's children were evacuated to Chinchilla. And Thomas got a job as a senior porter at the Canberra Hotel in Brisbane. Now, the Canberra was Brisbane's most prestigious hotel, and it was a pretty good place for him to be. You see, Thomas was an alcoholic, and the Canberra was a dry hotel run by the Queensland Temperance League, which today is known as Drug Arm. And they decided to give him a go. And they gave him a job, but it didn't work out. See, late one night, he was found drunk in the main lounge, and 2 porters had to help him into a taxi. Another time, he ended up in Ward 16 at the Royal Brisbane Hospital. And so ultimately, he lost that job. In the meantime, his wife Agnes also got work there as a waitress, but she became very friendly with some American soldiers. Who by this time were in Brisbane, as you know, in their thousands, having turned the place into a garrison town. Now, this gave Thomas a bit of a jolt, and he had what he hoped to be his last drink in September 1943. He was trying to turn his life around. But it didn't really help, because his wife met another man while working at the Australian Hotel, and they began an illicit affair.
Disgusting.
After the inevitable divorce, Agnes married the man. She never told the family about a second marriage, including 2 of her cousins who were Catholic priests. You know, Catholics didn't really like divorce. And one of those priests, in 1945, he himself narrowly escaped charges of manslaughter, following a head-on collision outside of Warwick. But in any case, Thomas also married for a second time. Now, he passed away in Brisbane in 1967 at around 67 years of age, which was a typically modest age for World War I veterans, and he's buried at Nudgee. But tragically for Thomas Lehane, his tragedy doesn't end there. That's because he's endured injustices in 3 places for over a century. You see, the First World War's embarkation roll at the Australian War Memorial in Canberra, doesn't have his name right. They've spelt it wrong. They put in an N at Lehane.
Oh.
And what's worse, his 2 home memorials at both Forest Hill and Laidley, even they got it wrong, misspelling his name in a different way again. Lehane. So, yeah, Danny, I'm a sucker for lost causes, as you know, so I'm onto this, getting his name right in all 3 places. Because, look, he's an old Anzac who probably is forgotten by everyone anyway, but I think he deserves to get his name right.
They do. It's got to be done properly. If it's not done properly, it's not right. But, you know, we've forgotten a lot of these people, these men, because Gallipoli was men, World War One, those battles. People just forget, don't they? Like, they just move. Like, it's 2 weeks since the Bondi shootings. Most people are back in that shopping centre just going about their business. We forget too easily and too quickly, don't we?
Yeah, well, here's a fella that probably some would think he is forgettable because he didn't do a great deal. He didn't get a medal. He didn't have a fantastic service record in either wars, but he was there and he tried to do his bit. Maybe wasn't as successful as he would have liked, but hey, he was there. We got to at least have the honour of getting his name right.
There you go. And Harold the H. Peacock, he's got a website, a Facebook site. Tell us what it is, Harold.
Yeah, go to all the socials and you can find History Out There, or go online to historyouthere.com. And this story will be there, as well as a couple of hundred others about Ipswich.
And you know, on this day, David Suckett, an English actor, fulfilled a 27-year ambition to make an audio recording of the whole Bible, the New International Version translation, that was released on this day in 2014. David Suckett.
What a fantastic ambition that was for 27 years. It would have taken that long to read it.
Well, there's a lot to read there,
wow.
And it's a bit convoluted, some of the grammar and anyhow. Good on you, mate. Thanks for your time, and you can also be heard on 4WK as well. What day is Damien?
Tuesday.
Tuesday. At what time, Damien?
Around about 7:40.
Fair enough. There you go. My competitors don't worry me. Because when you're the best, you don't need to worry about your competitors.
Exactly.
All right, so
we all look up to you, Dan.
We're on West.
Which is very hard to do.
We're on West Brum Radio. It's 8:20.